Have you ever wondered what would happen if the Earth, our giant spinning home, suddenly just stopped? It's a wild thought, right? Like something straight out of a disaster movie. But let's actually unpack this. What would the immediate and long-term consequences be if our planet's 1,000 mile per hour spin just ceased? Buckle up, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. First things first, the moment the Earth stops spinning, everything that isn't nailed down would be flung eastward at incredible speed. Think about it. You, me, the oceans, the atmosphere, buildings, trees, everything is currently moving with the planet. If the planet breaks, we don't. We'd become projectiles, launched at over 1,000 miles per hour. The force would be so immense it would instantly pulverize almost everything on the surface. It would be the most catastrophic event in human history, over in a matter of seconds. It's a grim start, I know, but that's the raw physics of it. But let's say somehow a few things survived this initial cataclysm. What happens next? Well, get ready for the biggest tsunamis imaginable. The oceans, which bulge at the equator due to the centrifugal force of the spin, would suddenly be free to slosh around. All that water would rush towards the poles. We're not talking about a big wave. We're talking about the entire ocean rearranging itself. This would create a single colossal supercontinent around the equator and two massive polar oceans. The resulting floods would scour the land clean, leaving behind a completely new global geography. Any coastal city and frankly most inland areas would be completely submerged and destroyed. And the wind. Oh, the wind would be something else. The atmosphere, just like the oceans, would continue to move. This would generate winds far stronger than any hurricane ever recorded. These winds would circle the globe, eroding the surface, kicking up so much dust and debris that the sky would be perpetually dark. It would be a global sandpapering effect, stripping away soil and carving new canyons into the rock. The friction from this hyperwind could even heat the surface of the planet to unimaginable temperatures, essentially flash broiling anything left. Okay, let's fast forward. The initial chaos has subsided. The planet is now still. What does life look like on this new static Earth? Well, the day-night cycle as we know, it would be gone. One side of the Earth would face the sun permanently, while the other would be locked in eternal darkness and cold. One day would last an entire year, as the Earth still orbits the sun. So you'd have 6 months of scorching, continuous daylight, followed by 6 months of freezing, unending night. Let's look at the day side. The constant, unfiltered solar radiation would bake the surface. Temperatures would soar well above the boiling point of water. Any remaining water would evaporate, turning this hemisphere into a vast, scorched desert. It would be completely inhospitable, a barren wasteland under a relentless sun. Life as we know it simply couldn't survive these extreme temperatures. Now, what about the night side? This hemisphere would be plunged into a deep freeze. Without any sunlight, temperatures would plummet to hundreds of degrees below zero, far colder than anywhere on Earth today. The atmosphere would freeze and fall as snow, covering the landscape in a thick blanket of frozen nitrogen and oxygen. It would be a dark, silent, and unimaginably cold world, equally as hostile to life as the day side. So is there any hope? Is there anywhere on this new Earth that could possibly support life? Well, maybe. There would be a thin strip of land between the searing hot side and the frozen dark side. This is often called the twilight zone or the Terminator line. In this narrow band, the sun would always be on the horizon, creating a perpetual state of dawn or dusk. Here, the temperatures might just be mild enough for liquid water to exist. This twilight zone would be our last, best hope. Life might be able to cling on in this sliver of the world. But it wouldn't be easy. The winds would be a constant problem. As the hot air from the day side rises and the cold air from the night side sinks, it would create a permanent, powerful windstorm blowing from the hot side to the cold side within this zone. You'd have to live in a world of constant, gale force winds. And what about Earth's magnetic field? Our planet's spin is crucial for generating the magnetic field that protects us from harmful solar radiation and cosmic rays. If the spinning stops, the liquid outer core that drives this dynamo would likely slow down too. Without our magnetic shield, the planet would be bombarded with deadly radiation. Even in the twilight zone, life would be under constant assault from space. Any survivors would need to live underground or in heavily shielded structures to avoid being fried by radiation. Let's think about the long-term effects. The moon, which is slowly moving away from us, would eventually start to spiral back in. The Earth's spin helps keep it in a stable orbit. Without that, tidal forces would eventually draw the moon closer and closer, until it either crashes into the Earth or is torn apart by our gravity, creating a ring system like Saturn's. Either way, it's not a great outcome for our planet. So, to sum it all up, if the Earth suddenly stopped spinning, we'd experience an immediate unsurvivable launch event, followed by globe-spanning tsunamis and hypersonic winds. The planet would then settle into a new state with 6 months of unbearable heat and 6 months of deep freeze. Our only potential refuge would be a narrow, windy twilight zone, constantly bombarded by deadly radiation. And eventually, the moon would come crashing down. It's a terrifying scenario, but thankfully, it's also a purely hypothetical one. The laws of physics, specifically the conservation of angular momentum, ensure that the Earth will keep on spinning. There's no known force in the universe large enough to just stop our planet in its tracks. So you can sleep soundly tonight knowing that when you wake up, the sun will rise in the east, just as it always has. It's a good reminder of the delicate and powerful forces that make our world the perfect, habitable home we know and love. Thank you so much for joining me on this crazy thought experiment. It really makes you appreciate our spinning little planet, doesn't it? If you enjoyed this journey into the what-ifs of science, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into fascinating topics. Let me know in the comments what other cosmic questions you'd like to explore. Until next time, stay curious.